Hello and welcome to Trojan Vision One-on-One. I am your host, Stephanie Hicks East. Trojan Vision One-on-One is where we go in depth with the people that make the Troy University family special. And joining us today is Chief George Beaudry, the police chief of the Troy University Police Department. And we're so grateful that you would take the time to join us today.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Chief Beaudry, you have been at Troy now for the last 4 years, but tell us about your law enforcement background prior to coming to Troy.
Sure. So like many police officers, as a younger child, about 14, I decided when I grow up, I'm going to be a police officer. During those few years of middle school, high school, I was, I'm going to go be in the FBI, I want to go be a U.S. Marshal, I want to be a spy, all these different things go through the process. And at 18 or 17, when I graduated from high school into my 18th year, I had decided to go to college at a community college in my hometown. And I had the opportunity to enter a program with the local police department. It was kind of an internship through school, but it also ran hand in hand with an Explorer program at the police department. So I count that time for those couple of years as an Explorer as basically the foundation of my law enforcement. It was a great department, it was a great program, it was a great opportunity to get some basic knowledge and introductory training in law enforcement. After about a year and a half of college, and at that stage in my life, that wasn't for me, I decided then to join the military, which was another one of my passions and one of the ways I looked at as an opportunity to still be in law enforcement. So I joined the United States Air Force. I was a law enforcement specialist while I was in security police at the time, is what they called it, and ended up getting stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. So I spent 4 years primarily at Maxwell. I had a couple of tours, short tours overseas and some other things that I did. But the entire time I was there, I was working in law enforcement. My last year as a security police investigator on base. So I kind of had the gamut of, patrol and, entry control, and also, criminal investigation, which I found that to be awesome. That was just fun, working on cases, kind of working them to the end. That was like, this is what I want to do. Great program that Maxwell Air Force Base had with the City of Montgomery Police Department was an opportunity to go through the police academy. So while I was still active duty in the Air Force, I went through the Montgomery Police Academy. So I got my state certification. At the time, I'm not from Alabama. I was not from the Montgomery area. At the time, I was kind of like, well, I will take this certification. I will get a job. It'll be great. I'll work a couple of years. By then, my family was in the Midwest, and I thought, I'll work here a couple of years and then maybe move. Because I had that academy certification, several applications went out, but several offers for jobs in the Montgomery area, but I landed at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in 1995 and stayed there 25 years. So the 2-year thing went out the window. That's more of a married a local girl, and that then you're there, and that was fine because that was probably the greatest 25 years I've spent in law enforcement. Worked for 3 different sheriffs, had an opportunity to work in criminal patrol, had an opportunity to work in investigations, violent crimes, property crimes, a year in narcotics investigation. Probably the most fun I had at the sheriff's office was about 14 years with the K-9 division, doing that. So I really had an opportunity working for 3 great sheriffs to do a lot of different things in law enforcement. So there was really no question, this is what I'm going to do. At the end of 25 years, I was starting to look towards, I can retire, yes. Do I want to retire? I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And towards the end of that time, I think it was August of that year, of my first year here, well, I know it was August, June, July, my daughter had decided I'm going to Troy University as a freshman. So I decided when the job opportunity as police chief at Troy came up, I decided to apply for the job. And so I've continued my law enforcement career. So I have not retired. I plan to continue, I don't know how much longer, as long as I'm still having fun. But that's kind of my law enforcement background, a little bit of everything to bring me here. And I'm 4 years here and we're still going.
Well, tell us a little bit about some of the challenges of working on a college campus as opposed to, say, the sheriff's department.
Yeah, so first off, I was really fortunate. When I decided to apply for this job, I didn't have a lot of being a police officer, I know, I get it, fighting crime, I understand, the ins and outs of administration. I did that for several years at the sheriff's office. I get all of that. I was not aware of the nuances of university policing. I was fortunate to have two really good friends. That one was police chief at UC Boulder, the other was police chief at University of Wyoming. I spent hours on the phone with them. Hey, tell me about it. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? How do I immerse myself in that culture and in that job? And just get pages of this is what you need to do. Of course, focus on Cleary. Focus on Title IX. There are things that I never heard of. Right, 29 years counting my military and explorer time. Never heard of Cleary. Never heard of Title IX. Didn't know how that had any relevance to law enforcement. Then navigating relationships with college students, where are the lines? Just because, you look at, I know what crime is, I know what criminal activity is, but I also know that when you transition into this environment, you have to look at the bigger picture, Where is that line between a student living their life and someone who needs to go to jail, right? There's a lot of ambiguity there. So that's some of the biggest challenges have been working through some of those, like I say, university nuances.
Yeah, that's a great point to pick up, because you're right. These are young adults who are becoming adults, and so I can imagine that is a challenge. So we talked a little bit about the challenges, but there has to also be a very rewarding as well. Talk about what makes it rewarding to work on a college campus.
Yeah, so on a personal level, what was most rewarding about me coming to Troy was I mentioned my daughter earlier, was really the opportunity to destroy her life by being the police chief here while she continued her education. And realistically, that was what she perceived in the very beginning. And I'll tell just a funny little story. She had a car accident in October of that first year. And I'd only been here for a couple of weeks, and she was on campus, and she called. The first phone call she made was to me. So that was good as a dad. But, as a police officer, I was like, okay, I'm scared. Get there, find everything's okay. And I think within them first few weeks, it kind of hit her that, hey, it's not so bad having Dad here. That's been one of the great things, is still being able to have that interaction with my daughter, with my own child. But that has also helped me, because with having a child, not only here at Troy, but just in college in general, and having another child who was also in college at the same time, helped me realize that I have to figure out a way as best I can, as a 50-year-old man, to engage and stay engaged with our student body. And that's been fun. It's been, unique. It's been interesting. It's not always been, it's not always, it's not always candy canes and rainbows, but it's fun and it's neat, and I really have enjoyed getting to know some of the student groups, getting to be involved with, I look at it like this: we're here to enforce law, we're here to enforce policy, but we're also here to stand alongside, our faculty, staff, our administrators, our teachers, our professors, to help teach these young adults and bring them into adulthood. So I've tried to make that kind of part of my platform is, I want to keep you straight, but I also want to help you learn different aspects that maybe your professor can't teach you. So I've enjoyed that.
And you talked about how you feel as a father having your child on a college campus. What do you say to the parents who are dropping their children off for the first time and are worried about leaving them alone? What do you say to them to reassure them that they will be safe here at Troy?
Sure. We've had that great opportunity for the last 2 years to meet our parents at impact sessions. So we've hosted a parents' breakfast for the last 2 years. At every impact session, so we talk to the new parents, and we really do get up there and we discuss, first and foremost, some of the programs that we have in place. We discuss some of the security measures that we have in place. We discuss some of the opportunities that that their children will have to interact with us. Ways that they can help themselves if they get too many parking tickets, and ways that things like that we just discuss with the parents. And I think once we kind of lay out to them the technology that we have in place, the programs that we have in place, the fact that our police officers are here 24/7, and the fact that not only me, I'm a parent of college kids. I think that helps a little bit. But I've got recently graduated Troy University students on the police department. And I think that really kind of hits the parents with, okay, So the group understands who their customer base is and how to kind of make it, make it a little easier for their transition. And I think that helps parents. And like I said, usually that 99% of the time everything is fine. So, but I think they feel better when they walk away.
Well, and you've talked about some of those initiatives that you have brought into place, such as the taxi system and whatnot. Tell us about some of the initiatives that you have started since you have been the Troy University Police Chief.
So, when I came in the door, met with my team, kind of figure out where we at, what are we doing now, and where can we improve. I think in the early days we discussed the biggest thing for me was student engagement. I just feel like that's our bread and butter, or it should be. We had to figure out ways to talk and communicate and be there and be part of a student's life as much as we can, while still enforcing rules and enforcing laws. So we had to find that line. And that was one of the biggest things. So we kind of started, we made sure we could get in front of the SGA. We made sure that we were interacting with our athletic teams. We made sure that, any group or organization, we tried to get the word out, hey, we want to come talk. We want to come, and at least give you our spiel, tell you how to talk to us, tell you how to find us. And I think we've made some solid pathways through some of our groups and organizations. That's a never ending. This is still a process. We're 4 years later and we still haven't touched every group, because there's so much going on with our day-to-day. But I think that was focus number one, like I said, was student engagement. Two was specific programs, what can we do to truly enhance safety, to truly enhance security. So we put a focus on, reigniting some of the things that had been done here, but make sure that we were advertising, safety walk. Hey, we will come walk you from point A to point B at 2 o'clock in the morning if you don't want to walk alone. We started really looking at, our camera systems on campus, and we started improving and enhancing and making changes to get us a better, some more technology to help protect students. Choose your ride. You mentioned that. That was just kind of a stolen idea. I wish I could say, hey, we all sit down at TUPD and we come up with the best ideas. No, we steal the best ideas, right? We find who's doing something that's working great somewhere else, and we take it and we do it. Initially, we started that program in January this year. Internally at the police department, we said, listen, if we save one life, if we save one life by this time next year, we're excited. Since January this year, we've had 22 people take rides.
Wow.
That's a lot more successful than we thought it would be. In the early days, there was concern, students, they're setting us up.
Yeah.
That we're going to call them, they're going to come get us, they're going to take us to jail. We've called, they've called, we've gotten them in the car, we've got them a ride somewhere safe, and I think everybody feels better at the end of the day. But like I say, 22, that's been a successful program, and I appreciate the students that have taken advantage of it. We talk all the time about, hey, safety. Look, we'd rather you not. Right? We'd rather you not overindulge. We'd rather you not, have to call us for a ride. We'd rather you make plans, again, responsible adult stuff. But that's where we go back to, okay, we're still talking about young minds, making decisions that sometimes aren't the greatest. But let's give them a little something. So that program, that's been great. Wow, what else have we done? We've just, anything that we can think of, we do. We've worked with IT to provide the Omni Alert system. That was one of their babies that they brought to us, and we said, absolutely, let's get our students on board, let's get them registered, let's get them signed up, and that's really helped with some of the communication, both ways. They can text us, in the middle of the night, things like that. Providing phone numbers, something as simple as providing cell phone numbers. Everybody on my staff has a cell phone, and they all have business cards with a cell phone number on it. When we engage with students, we give them our cell phone number. I give them my cell phone number. We get text messages all the time because, our students, they're the generation that they're not as comfortable talking like you and I are. We came up where you had to talk to people. They want to text people. So that was one of the things, hey, y'all, give these kids your phone numbers, these young adults. Give them your phone number and they'll text you and they'll reach out to you. And that's been just another student engagement thing. Just, programs like that we've been successful with. The oil check, parents love that.
Yes.
I think it's been real good. We partnered with a great business here in town, Jim Whaley. They come over here before every long break. We give the kids, the students, muffins, snacks, soda, whatever. We just want to talk to you for 2 minutes while they're checking your oil, checking your tires. We're going to put a stack of safety, tips in your hand before you leave for vacation. If it's the wintertime, it's got some winter safety stuff. If it's summertime, it's got some summer safety, beach-related type, things to look out for. We just want to do things like that, and that's been a successful program. Every session that we've had has increased in numbers. Like I said, so we always kind of gauge, is what we're doing working? If something's not working, we want to come back and we want to hit it from a different angle or come up with something else.
And I know I've appreciated as a broadcast teacher that you will talk to our journalists. They have to learn how to talk to law enforcement officers, and your office is always welcoming to them and help them know what it's like to have to interact with law enforcement officers. So I know us in the broadcasting department have been very appreciative of that as well. Now, you mentioned the Omni Alert. Unfortunately, we have had some high-profile incidences lately on campus, such as the lockdown at Newman and the suspicious package out of TC. How does your office prepare for situations like that?
So, internally, we have a lot of training. We're routinely discussing and training and attending courses, attending classes. We have certified instructors on staff. We have started that, sending different officers to different types of certifications. We've sent Sergeant Farmer to RAD instructor school so that she could bring back self-defense tips to teach, some of our young ladies. We've got Officer Garrett. We've sent him to an active shooter instructor training course. Things that we can come back and kind of bring the whole team together to say, all right, now what do we have to do internally? So we obviously, like I say, it's training. It's training. We have to know what to do when that call comes in. The call at Newman, living 40 minutes away from here, I have to rely on a solid staff, and I didn't make any decisions. I'm on the road. I'm taking phone calls. We're talking, and it's more, my command staff calling me saying this is what we've done, A, B, C, D, E. And I'm like, that's, here we are. They already knew. Their training paid off. The officers responded in the manner that they're supposed to. So that's what we're always doing. We're always training. We're always discussing. And we're always trying to put the right people in the right place when bad happens.
What is the most important thing that you want students here on Troy University's campus to know about you and your department?
First and foremost, absolutely, we truly are here for you. Engage with us. Come up and speak to us before something bad happens. Come up and talk to us, not when we've pulled you over on a traffic stop. Not when we've arrived at the party and, we're already there because we've been called. That's not the time to build relationships. The time to build relationships is just when you see us, because we are all over campus. We're on foot, we're in cars, we're walking around. Flag us down, talk to us, drop by the office and see us, build a relationship, engage us, and I promise you that'll pay back tenfold, not only for them, but for us. When we get to know them on a little bit more personal level, we're not going to be friends, we're not going to hang out together, but when you take a few minutes, you'll find out that our officers are more than eager to really just kind of, get to know you briefly, so that when we have to, we're not a huge campus, right? If I've met you 2 or 3 times over at TC, I'm going to know you when I see you on Saturday night, on Fraternity Row, right? So it's better if we've already built a little bit of a relationship so that we can kind of go. But also understand that while we want that engagement and want that relationship, we are still police officers, and we still have a role. We have programs in place where we don't want to make arrests all the time. We have some other deferred, punishments and deferred discipline and things that fall in line with what court systems are doing off campus. But sometimes that's not a guarantee. So we do want to encourage our student body to understand that hey, just because you were dropped off at college doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. Mm-hmm. We still have a code of conduct. We still have laws in the state that we have to follow. So we want you to find that line just like we want to find that line. And that's what I encourage the students to understand.
And of course, you have to deal with the day-to-day operations here at Troy, but of course we also have to think of things like big athletic events, like homecoming is coming up in a few weeks. And what kind of planning process goes behind making sure everyone stays safe at an event such as homecoming?
Sure. So internally we sit down and again, the staff, command staff over there is amazing. They make plans, they make rosters, they look at work schedules. It's an all hands on deck. any football game is all hands on deck for us. But when you start talking about the large ones, the ones that we know are going to be, that much larger crowd, homecoming, we're going to have so many guests here, and we're going to have so many, so much more going on, so many more activities. We start to sit down and we get everybody prepared. Hey, these are the days. We have about a week where just because you were supposed to go home at 6:30 doesn't mean you're going home at 6:30. And everybody's ready for it, and everybody gets prepared for it, and we kind of plan ahead of, okay, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with that? So it's always a what if. It's always a plan and prepare. And then games like that, events like that, there's an external piece too. So we work closely with the City of Troy Police Department. We've already had 2 meetings where we've discussed where City of Troy Police, us, the Sheriff's Office, ALEA, State Bureau of Investigation, and this year ATF is supporting us as well. We've already had 2 meetings to kind of figure out who's going to do what, who's going to be where, communications, operation plans, things of that nature. So there is a lot of pre-planning that goes into place. And then as we get closer to the actual day of the operation, then for us, it's almost mechanical because we have planned so well. And then, Murphy steps in because it's law enforcement, and we rely on our training, and we hope that we've planned for a safe environment. And in most cases we have, but there's always the one-offs, and that's where those relationships with all of those other agencies that I've mentioned, as well as the internal training, I think has us prepared for when things go sideways.
Now, you've mentioned a little bit about your department, but to wrap things up, we know you're the chief, but it's not just you. It takes everyone on that department to keep Troy safe. So what makes your department special and work so well for our campus?
I think the combination of age and experience and newness, because we run the gamut from the 14 full-time police officers that are on this campus. We're spread out. We've got several of our newer officers are recent graduates of Troy. To me, that pays dividends in so many different ways. I've got folks that were on SGA. I've got folks who were athletes. I have folks who were, from various, walks of the university life who are now police officers, and they're young police officers. That group we really rely on to kind of keep us in touch and in tune with, us that are a little older. Hey, they come to us and tell us, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's on the social media parts that we don't see. There's a lot of things out there that we have no grasp of until that younger group brings it to me. And then I've got, the experience. I've got plenty of experience. I've got, I say command staff. It's 2 people and me, and the 2 I rely so heavily on. My right hand, the Lieutenant Reeves. He has a lot of time here, and from day one here, he would sit down with me and say, "That's a good idea, but we might not want to do it that way." Just because he has so much local knowledge, and he has so much, hey, I've been here and I've seen this and we've dealt with this. So the department as a whole, when you put all the pieces together, I can't brag on them enough, but I probably don't think I could be any happier with a group. And like I say, I'm excited, and we lose people. One of our officers who was a young one that we hired out of school, he's in the Trooper Academy right now. That is awesome for him. So if I can provide, if we can bring somebody into our fold for 2 or 3 years and we can get them a solid basis in law enforcement, that's what the members of the command staff want. Like, we want to push them out to larger agencies and different exposures, because we feel like, hey, it's just as good for us, to send them out. But when we have them here for 3 years, they're great teammates, and they're part of the machine that keeps TUPD running.
Perfect. Well, Chief Beaudry, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Yep.
We really appreciate it. And that's it for Trojan Vision One-on-One. Join us next time.